Good morning, folks. Make sure y'all hit that like button. I appreciate you chiming in, hanging out with me. Make sure you hit that like button for me, subscribe, all that good stuff. So we're going to be going through a few sounds real quick. That was my normal bass running through the Mercury X. Now we're going to add one of the brand new sounds from the Future Impact V4 VIP, which is this red pedal here. They had added some new DX7 sounds. One of them is a flute sound. So we're going to go through a few different flute sounds with a few different pedals. So the Future Impact, we're going to use a flute sound, the Male 9 and the Enzo X. And we're going to use them all through the same reverb. We're not changing the reverb just yet. But the Mercury X is this blue pedal here. So, all right, let's get going. So that was the new DX7 engine in the Mercury X, the Future Impact V4 VIP. Do a little bit of male 9 here, which is an amazing electro harmonics pedal here. So that was a little bit of the male 9. Now we'll go over to the Enzo X. So, got a quick comparison there. But one of the main things you can get out of this is everything you heard on this track has had the Mercury X on it. So, you know, it definitely makes a huge difference in your sounds, even the sounds you're listening to on the track. That gated reverb is the Mercury X on that hi-hat sound. Hi-hat sound's actually created by the Enzo X. So all the synths on the track were the Enzo X. In general, the bass synth, what you're hearing now, the chords, the string sound. The EP sound, electric piano roll type sound. And all this has different Mercury X presets on it. By the way, check out my preset packs on Patreon. Mercury X is on there. So all these different reverbs and different stuff you hear today are already in the pack on the Patreon. People sleeping on the Enzo X. First off, don't sleep on the Enzo X. Reverb on the snare part. Snare and kick is also the Enzo X. So, how y'all doing today? I hope all y'all having a wonderful day. You know, this is turning out to be an amazing day in the DMV area. It's about 80 degrees outside, so beautiful day. Let me try to get this angled off right here so I don't have to look over that way too much. But all right, let's switch over to pedal board view. Bam. So if you're on the vertical stream, if you want a different view, you can check out the horizontal stream if you just go to my channel. One to say portrait, and then the other one to say just the regular title. The regular title will be the horizontal view, where you get a much bigger picture of the pedal board. So, all right, let's get it started. So, first off, this is like a general studio reverb that I created with it. Sometimes you see a lot of videos with the Mercury X. It's always the big ambient sounds, but of course it can do regular reverb stuff. Right, but what you probably don't realize is it's also just a great multi-effects in general. So it allows you to do even just having it at the end of your chain. Like, it's the very end of this chain. Just to explain my chain, none of this stuff is even plugged up right now. This is just some other pedals that I like to keep available to me when I need them. And then, but this is the main board here. So all this is rigged up, rada. So Empress compressor into the Future Impact, over to the MXR bass synth, to the deep freeze, to the Mel 9, Pog 3, and when coming out of Pog 3 is stereo, into the Enzo X, then down to the Tone X1s, then up to the Mercury X, and out down to the loopers, which are on the floor. So, and all that's powered by a Canvas Power 15. So, and it's all MIDI'd up with a CME H4 MIDI Pro built into the board underneath, and you know, using the Graviton M1 as a MIDI controller with the 10-foot switches on the floor, as well as the MIDI Captain wirelessly. Both of those are wirelessly connected to the board here. So All right, hopefully that explains that. I gotta find a way to get this over a little bit. It's in the way. But just bring this up. So what we have here is just a good old bass preset, right? So even for your general so that's with it. Without it, right? So you already want to start with a good sound coming from the Empress compressor and the two Tone X1s running stereo, right? Left and right. And those are running a JHS Colorbox V2 tone model on them. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. I love my setup and my bass. Thank you. I appreciate it. So one thing that the Mercury X doesn't get enough credit for is the amazing compressors and limiters that are in there. So it has a regular compressor, stereo compressor, right? Then it has the compressor link. So the compressor, regular compressor, just works like a regular compressor, but the link one compresses the left and the right side separately. So based on if you have like a panning sound coming into the Mercury X, it will pan, compress those differently. And same thing with the limiter and limiter link. And you get diffusion and attack and what's the other one? Freeze. You get a freeze pedal in there as well. So I can have my reverb on my regular bass sound, right? And just have that triggered solely through the whole modifier. So just regular bass tone. Then when I want to do some soloing or chords, so just a nice big massive reverb, but doesn't actually get in the way, because the Mercury X allows you to do things like high pass the reverb by itself. If you want to take out some of the lows in the reverb, you can do that. Not a problem at all. So even if I want to take out even more of the low end, and this is a super useful feature for bass players, because otherwise, thank you again. Definitely appreciate the compliments on the setup. But that keeps the reverb out of your way. Now, if you open it back up, now I'm getting all that low end in the reverb, which can be good for some things. If you really want that big cavernous sound, but if you want to tighten that up a little bit, bring that high pass, the lows up, low cut up. I like to do at least around up to 400 or 500 at times. And that way, even when I'm hitting my low notes, it's not getting in the way. So, these are some of the things that really make this unit super valuable. Like, yes, you can do the super fancy stuff, but you can also have your regular just bass and reverb patch, like and you also get 100 different presets on here, and you can edit it and back it up on your computer if you have a MIDI interface, and it can be controlled completely through MIDI. So that's why even now I can turn that reverb off from one of the foot switches on the floor. So real easy. All right, so let's move on. Now, the other part, you got some great filters in here and modulations. Like this is the vowel mod, which gives you different vowel sounds tied to an LFO. So I absolutely love the filter section in here, and it also has, I mean, the filter and the modulations, the drives, the pitch shifting in here is really good as well. And you also have the ability to tile this different things to modifiers, so you can control all these different things in different ways, like all these different parameters. I'll give you another example. So you have two LFO modifiers, which is what you're hearing this operating off of. But you know, you got certain effects and certain things that have their own LFO to them, like the modulation section. But you can also do things like if you wanted to control the filter, the modulations in different ways, you can attach the depth and different things like that to envelopes, sample and hold, sequencers, all that different stuff. So let's start exploring some more of the, do something like the freeze function. And it'll just freeze that for you. So you don't even have to buy a separate freeze pedal if you don't want to. So you even have the option to use that as well. So these are all just features that are in this one pedal, right? Nothing else right now other than some saturation and EQ from the color box tone models, and the little bit of saturation and EQ and compression from the Empress compressor. So now you got things like tape shift. And as you can hear, has amazing delays. You can change these delays, and you know, it's pretty much a modular reverb. right? So you can build your own custom delays, you can build your own custom reverbs, and you have all the modules you need and all the flexibility and the routing internally to do that. Meaning you can have your dry signal and you can have your signal before anything has happened, before the pre-delay, right? Which would be your wet signal. So you think of that as like your wet signal, and your dry signal stays nice and dry and sounds like, nice and clean. So it doesn't just alter your dry tone unless you put one of the modules, the drive module, the dynamic section, the preamps in there, which is also the drive section, preamp / drives, modulations, the pitch shifting. You can put all that in various places on the Mercury X, and not only that, but then you can tie any of those to various modulations to have things happening. So, for instance, things like that. You can hear the pitch shifting happening, the bit crushing, and tape age saturation on there. And things are tied to various modifiers in there. So, for instance, so you heard the sound slightly change there, and that's because the hold modifier is attached to the frequency of the filter. Right? If I press the hold modifier, you see it light up there. I'm doing it through MIDI. So you got, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different modifiers. You can attach 6 different things to the expression pedal. So, just ridiculous stuff. And like I said, you can have your everything from your outrageous and this is all. I'm gonna show you some different applications for this. The Mercury X pretty much is for everybody. I wouldn't just say it's just for bassists and guitars. This is the most versatile reverb pedal I've ever heard. I literally want to put it on every track. I do. Vocals, horns, everything. So if we incorporate something like the deep freeze, So we got options. Just froze the Mercury X. And I can still move with the deep freeze. Make sure y'all hit that like button. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. See, that's a prime example of the cinematic texture that you can create with the Mercury X. So, see what we got here. Because we have some delay, some special stuff going on with the delay and the reverb there. So, let's see what we got. So we running a BBD, Bucket Brigade delay, which is already going to give you that. You know, for me, I like to use the Bucket Brigade stuff for the synthier or the more granular, pretty much, you know, lo-fi, gritty type of texture of a delay. And, you know, pretty much set that up with the pre-delay section here. You know, set that up to eighth notes. Eighth notes and whole notes. Left and right. Running my favorite algorithm, which is available in the Enzo X as well, the Prism algorithm. Nice, massive room. Just amazing. What's going on, Portuguese? Appreciate you stopping by. Usual suspect showing up. Appreciate it. So, yeah, it's all just there. All right, let's see what we got on. So running the Prism there. Of course, we have the freeze in the dynamic section. 2 preamp. And that's running in the feedback loop of the pre-delay section. Along with the filter. And the pitch shifting. And modulation. So all the pretty much effects are running in the feedback of the delay section. That's why, see how intense that is? Beautiful. That already puts you in the cinematic territory. Then you add something like the deep freeze or, deep freeze. Really make that narrow 9, those strings sounding real good. That's just the Mercury X. So it can give you a nice platform to work on. So it's always amazing when you can get your pedals to all cooperate very nicely together and play very nicely together. Even taking out the deep freeze in the male 9 again, just the Mercury X. So even in this instance, even if I never touched the pedals, I automatically got a beautiful chant sound going on there. And that's actually one of the stock presets. That's what I was telling you guys about Maris. Their stock presets, a lot of them are so good, you're not even going to be able to get rid of them. And even myself, somebody that creates preset packs, mine is on Patreon. Don't forget about that. For the Mercury X, Enzo X, Future Impact, and the others, Tone X as well. But even with me doing that, I still find that their presets are just top notch. Like I can't get rid of some of them, like this one. But you can also freeze. Really have that nice support. You can do things like add, if you have a male 9, add the choir sound on here. Work together. So super easy to get cinematic, and that's with just the addition of the deep freeze and the male 9. Come on now, by itself. that you can do nice little glitchy stuff like that if you wanted to. So I notice if you try to do the freezes too fast back to back, it does this nice little glitchy thing. You know, you just give it a little second to breathe. And it's fine. And it actually let me stack it there. And I noticed that might not even, I don't think that's it glitching out. I actually think that's the short delay, because that's, you know, the freeze is just a little snapshot real quick. I think that's those samples, you know, interfering with each other. Just crazy. So not only can it do everything from your normal bass sounds, like rounding off your pedal board very nicely in a beautiful way, like giving you solid bass tones. You got, you know, chorus. I don't want to misquote, because I know you do have your chorus. You have your hazy modulation in there, which gives you that tape saturation and bit crushing. You got a vowel mod in here in the modulation section. Let me see what else. 79 chorus and a tremolo. Yep. So you get a nice modulation section in there that really is like very unique. Not the chorus per se, but the hazy, the vowel mod, and the stuff you can do with their that hazy modulation is insane. Like, it's very nice. So, you know, you can do even things like Leslie sounds. Little light Leslie. Pitch shifting is never off. Let's get to this. Even when I'm using the POG 3, super dependable. which you can hear changes everything. Just having that tap tempo and that pitch shifting, the delay attached to that allows you to have various effects, just changing the time. Here's another example of just a cinematic texture. If you guys can't tell, I really like outer space stuff. Sounding things. So I can easily, if I wanted to, take a bass synth or something. Let's see what we got here. Bass synths, or take pads. Let's go to the Future Impact. I think I might have to switch this over. 1, 2, 3, bam. Switch that over to there. Here we go. I think when I did my update, good thing I have all my presets backed up. When you do your update for your Future Impact V4 VIP, there's just a heads up. Back up your presets, because, it's going to literally wipe the thing clean and add a new, feature, a whole different side to the pedal. And even you're going to need to redo your note on and off levels as well. So just a heads up, because that's clearly not the sound. What about this one? Yep. That one made it back. That made it back too. Okay. Whatever. I guess we're not doing the Future Impact sound I wanted to do. Let's go to some trumpet. Another lovely sound. So even if you're, playing other instruments, it's just going to sound amazing. And you're going to have access to a lot of great effects that's really going to round off your pedal board or your pedal setup or effect setup. The Mercury X definitely will enhance any setup. I didn't think I needed a $600 reverb pedal, but it's not just a $600 reverb pedal. It's really the best modular reverb you can have, because even when you're not using the delay and the reverb, mind you, you can build any custom reverb and majority of custom delays out of it as well. You still have a bunch of usable effects just for your dry sounds or just for your modulations. I appreciate you, Sai. Hope I'm saying that correctly. Subscribing just now. And let's see. So make sure I hit that like button. I definitely appreciate y'all hanging out with me. But so little saxophone. Flute. Which is crazy. It also has a built-in noise gate as well. So, you don't have to buy an additional noise gate pedal. You don't have to buy an additional freeze pedal. You really don't have to buy any delay pedals. You don't have to buy any drive or filter pedals. It's just crazy. You don't have to. Even if you're not using a ton of modulations, you might not even have to buy a modulation pedal, to be honest. But a lot of the stuff that you would want to do, you could just have access to it in there. A lot of the detune sounds you can create with the pitch shifting as well. You don't even have to buy a pitch shifting pedal if you didn't want to. Depends on how you're using it. If you're going to be soloing, then you'll want a separate pitch shifting pedal. But the polyphonic shifting in there is it's crazy good. It just has a bit of latency to it, but it never misses no matter what. So let's see. Let's see what we got here. So as you can hear, even with synths going into it, amazing delay and reverb in there. And the pitch shifting, it still doesn't miss even when you are using various sounds. Let's see how it does with an arpeggiator. Just cinematic all day. Here it's responding to the sound. That's insane. Studio plate. Gate. It's like it changes the physics around your ears or something. It's like it puts you, no matter what space you're in, if you have on headphones, or especially, you really can hear that shift between rooms. That's insane. That's a stock one too. Hit that modifier, turns into a horror film. This is D-tune comp. So adding some D-tune and compression to it. Stupid. This is a bit crusher filter I made on here. Come on now. That's insane. And this is the reverb pedal. Envelope filter. Delay setting. This is insanity. Listen, I'm trying to undo the clock from the inside. think I might have to do it actually the other way around, because now that I think about it, it's not running back into it. Yeah, I'll actually have to do that a whole different way than I really want. Because they're on different MIDI channels. Let's see how it helps out. A few little keyboard sounds here. Oh, come on. Oh. Probably would help. Right MIDI channel. So even when you're in your pads, it's going to add that extra tone. Pad by itself. With the Mercury X. So this is what it would sound like with just a normal reverb pedal added onto it. Well, not a normal one, but just a reverb. Right. So this is the Prism algorithm on the Enzo X, which is this the best one in the Mercury X, in my opinion. It's my favorite. They put that in the Enzo X as well. So if you have an Enzo X, you have that Prism. So as you can hear, that's like one layer of adding ambience. And when you talking about adding some real textures to it, some real textures from it. And I mean any sound. So just straight film scoring all day. It just adds so much. Without it, you always want to start with a great sound. Now that's the Mercury X doing, so now we got a couple different pitch shifting things going on. As you can hear, it's continually going on. And this is another one of the stock presets that's amazing on here as well. Stupid. So and I can drive it back down with the whole modifier. Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy right there. You start with it at the low. Yeah. Just the fact that it just is nasty. Let the Mercury X rise. Then take up the Enzo X. That's just insane. Hit them both at the same time is the real nasty work on that. Just nasty. So it's capable of a lot, especially because of those modifiers and the various effects that are really good. The same thing with the Enzo X. The Enzo X definitely has a much more of a traditional modulation section, and that's why I use that for like a lot of my bass modulations, bass guitar modulation sounds. You know, it just sounds like the sounds, all the effects on here, the modulations on here are just amazing too. But they're more like chorus, flanger, phaser, vibrato. You got a ring modulator, bit crusher, you know, things like that in there. Compared to here, you get that hazy modulation, which can be used as a bit crusher, but it also has tape saturation. Like you can add the saturation of an old tape to your stuff or the warble of it. You know what I'm saying? Then you have like that vowel mod in the modulation section in the Mercury X that allows you to get those things like the chant type sounds. C9. So say I wanted the strings and a choir. You know, you can, same thing if you're playing keyboard. So something like a Mercury X is definitely going to, even if you have something like an Enzo X or a Mel 9, Future Impact, Deep Freeze, even MXR bass synth, it's going to enhance it. I'll give you an example with the MXR bass synth. Right, so this MXR bass synth by itself. Let's give it a little help. Let's go to a different one. Let's get some. Oh, that's the filter setting. In fact, let's just build something. Perfect. I keep doing it. Bing, bing, bing. So we'll go all synth, no sub bass. Open this filter all the way up, turn the envelope off real quick, no resonance. Make sure the modulation's off. Make sure the LFO is off. Yeah. We'll start with that. Matter of fact, we'll get this. Yeah, we'll start there. Bring the filter cutoff down. amount of resonance. Okay, let's start there. Give it a little bit of. Okay, so now this is a little basic sound, nothing fancy, nothing crazy. Nothing crazy at all. Might even add a little noise. Let me see. Nah. No noise. A little modulation, maybe. Okay, we'll take that. We'll add a little vibrato to it. Matter of fact, I just seen something on here. See what I got on here. Take that modulation off. See, it's adding just a bit of vibrato there. So say we wanted to. So it's very subtle. But we can actually add it, make it more intense if we would like. Set it tied to the mod, so we go to the depth of the modulation. Make sure it's not tied to anything else real quick. Check out this mix. had to go to the mod def. can choose to make that go crazy. I can fade that in like I have it, as you notice. It's a short time before it starts. As well as if I wanted to add like some bit crushing to that instead. Bit crushing and filter. Let's go to a smoother bass sound. So, without it, but you throw it up in there. So it just adds some nice effects to your rig. Not just the delays and the reverbs and the ambient sounds. It's just a nice way to top off a lot of your sounds. Like just to push it right over the top and make it cut through, you know? And something like the MXR bass synth needs a little help, you know what I'm saying? Because it doesn't have a lot of these extra features like the Enzo X and the Future Impact to really shape the sound after you create it. You can just pretty much create the sound. You do have some chorus in there, but for the most part, you know, after you do the chorus and the filter, that's pretty much it. So let's see what it sounds like running no envelope. Right, so that's no filter, or as open as possible. Right. Let's see with that envelope filter. So definitely adds a lot of. Bring that down some. And I can also come up here. Well, let's just. No, I want to change that. I want to change the mix. So even the filters is nasty. Even the filters is spot on, you know. Um, I don't even understand how they managed to get that like that. Mind you, this is the same MXR bass setting, right? The same one. So without the Mercury X, right? Mercury. This is the whole wet sound. That's the wet sound, right? And what we could do is close this filter down a little bit here. Still no envelope to it, so we're just going to bring it down to the bass territory. But we still need a little bit of that grit in there. And no, I know a lot of things aren't what they seem, you know. How would I have all these pedals coordinated together enough to have presets and all these other things if I was just pressing buttons to see what sounds good? No, I've explained a lot of these individual pedals, you know, a million times. Like I've explained a lot of their parameters, how to set these things up. So if you knew, you just knew. Now, if you want to learn, just ask your question. What does that button do if you don't know what it does? Because I actually know what the button does, so I don't need to say what the button does unless you don't understand it. So, you know, I'm here to help. That's what I'm here for. You know what I'm saying? If you got questions about pedals and what the buttons do, just ask, you know. But, yeah, that pony little filter there is definitely like, it definitely adds to some funk. And you could throw that on octave down as well. Let me see, nice octave down. Bring this volume down. So, yeah, lower settings like that, you definitely want to add some grit to. See if I can get some more grit out. Yeah, you can get that sound, close to that sound, a lot of different ways. So, you know, the most difficult part about working the Mercury X or the Enzo X is if you're not familiar with the layout and how in the workflow of each individual device, you can easily get confused, or it can be overwhelming. You know what I'm saying? So, it definitely makes makes a difference there. But, boo, boo. So, in general, I find that the Mercury X definitely will outperform pretty much any unit I've seen. It's really not. I really can't stop coming up with sounds with the Mercury X. Same thing with the Enzo X. Enzo X, I started creating synth versions of real instruments, like, not spot on, but like Cynthia versions of them. Things like EP, the trumpet horn stuff we've been doing, as well as creating some great bass synths. But again, even with your bass synths, I got a little bass synth patch there. And I like to have different compression for my regular bass sound versus my bass synth sounds. Just the bass synths on here is just crazy. And you can control them all with your bass too, so it ain't. Let's give them a little. So it gets you there. Without it, still sounds good, but when you add that amazing compressor link onto it, a little bit of saturation from the preamp section. Let's see which preamp I'm using on this So it just gives you really evens that sound out. Especially when you get to like some brighter sounds. Nearly the same volume. So you don't have such a uneven, dispersion of your lower frequencies in the upper part of, because you, without it, there's different. Look how much lower the bass note is versus. Now all the bass frequencies a little bit more forward. While this is compressed a little bit more and under control. So, tons and tons of options. And you still just evens things out, man. Right? Compared to without it. With it. So literally way more even. So that's what I really, really love about dealing with the Mercury X. That compressor in there is top notch. And the compressor link, the limiter link, all of those are amazing, and they finish off your sound perfectly. The perfect thing to have at the end of your chain. You know, I used to use this Atlas compressor at the end of my chain, you know, because it's stereo compressor, has a well, I use 1176 at a 10-to-1 ratio, running parallel, so like half wet, half dry, and then run that into a LA2A compressor and have that at a 1-to-1 ratio, so no compression, and have that all wet, so I would get the tube saturation from the LA2A emulation on there. But I've been able to get pretty much all of that out of there, you know, using the preamps and the compressor link on there. So, yeah, I do sound engineer stuff. I do more studio engineer stuff than sound engineer. I don't really sound engineer. I do studio engineering stuff for folks. But, yeah. So, just bass synths just be enhanced all day. Even come over to the Future Impact. First of all, Future Impact, the tracking did get better. Yeah, appreciate you, bro. Hey, appreciate you for chiming in. Anyway, I don't know why people were weird, bro. Let me ask you something. Why are you being weird? Is that how you normally interact with people? I don't know. People on the internet be weird, bro. That is not how you normally interact with people. And if we was in the same room and I had my bass and you had your bass, it wouldn't be me. And I can record however I want. If I want this sound on a record, you don't actually have to do all that later. If you actually know how to get a good sound in the first place, you don't have to live by that rule. Record dry, mix wet. That is not a rule. That's your rule. Because guess what? When I go and I do different stuff for people and I'm hired to play, and I also get paid for people to have me come play, I do it my way, and my way gets me paid. Your way gets you whatever it gets you. So, you got to understand that. That's why I don't get on people's page or get on here and even tell people you have to do this, you have to do that. I give you suggestions. You can take it or not, but you don't have to do nothing. There ain't no rules like that in music, and don't let people put you in a box like that. Because this same person, they put you in a box, leave you in a corner, and never open it back up. So I just let them normally just talk for real, I let them talk because they're watching instead of doing. They're not learning. Those of you all that are watching, you should be watching, and you're still doing. You should be learning. You should be getting something out of this. You know what I'm saying? If it ain't nothing but, do I like this pedal or should I buy this pedal? That's what you should be getting out of everything. Something versus complaining about random, really nothing. Just get on here crying. Future Impact update definitely is that tracking definitely came alive there. I would definitely say the tracking has come alive. It was already good, but it daggone sure got better. So that's the main part, man. See what else we got. I be forgetting all the bass sounds I got on here. By the way, grab that Future Impact preset pack as well. Grab that Enzo X pack as well. You know what I'm saying? Grab one of the 20 Tone X packs. You know what I'm saying? Combination preamp. So you got the color box on there, Ampeg, SGT, Aguilar, AG preamp, and all these various things like that. So, and combination preamp packs like the color box running into Ampeg, SGT, Ampeg, color box running into Aguilar AG. So, got the color box combination packs on there. Mercury X packs, C4 synth. What else we got? We got some other ones on there. Oh, the Zoom, MS60B Plus, MS70 CDR Plus, and the Zoom B6. All are on the Patreon. So make sure you check that stuff out. Get them preset packs so you can sound good real fast. Don't be like some people who never get to that point. That's just how it goes. Get your stuff, get it done fast. You ain't gotta worry about it. Boop. Yeah, everything is about sound, but clearly you don't have the ears for it. Clearly Clearly you don't have the ears. And clearly nobody's hiring you to do it. Cause you wouldn't guess what? I don't do stuff for free. Nothing with music for free. But you on here giving free unwanted advice. See? There's the difference. But all you gotta do is chill. I don't know what your thing is, bro. I don't even know who you are. But you can see me, I can't see you, so it's easy to say what you want. I mean, I could just go to your page real quick and start posting links to your videos. Probably don't even have none. But that's how people do you. They get on there, just talk trash. They don't even. Yep. No videos, no content, no nothing. Just on the internet talking trash. Good gracious. And I don't have to have videos because clearly the single digit. You having fun with that? You know there's a bunch of different streams going on right now as well. So have fun with that, bro. Let's go. But yeah, man. In life, the Mercury X is going to win. Let me tell you something. Don't let this guy fool you, because he clearly knows nothing about sound or audio. The Mercury X is a fire pedal. And I don't know what this thing is against it or what's going on with it, but the Mercury X definitely is no slouch in any way, shape, or form. And quite frankly, it takes a genius to design this type of stuff. This is not easy to design. Everybody always got they say so about these different pedals, right? You know, like tracking, or they'll have their complaints, but they don't realize how difficult it is to create these products and bring them to real life, the testing, the real energy that goes on behind the scenes, not just picking up somebody's stuff and saying it sucks, right? That's why I put some real energy into learning and reading manuals, not just judging things based on really my lack of knowledge on the piece of gear or just the effects in general. Everybody's going to have their own thing, but I like to make sure that I give each and every pedal its due, like learning wise. That's why I wouldn't get on here and just tell you guys some stuff that wouldn't help you out. You know, that's the purpose of it. I've spent a lot of time with Mercury X. So, you know, that's just the way it is. You know, the Mercury X, if you don't think it's amazing, that's perfectly fine. But it definitely is. So, you know, I always encourage folks to try things out for yourself. You don't have to take my word for it. And, you know, genius speaks for itself. You know, I'm not a self-proclaimed genius. I'm great at what I do. I don't care what you talk about, bro. I'm not looking for validation up here. I didn't get on the internet today for you. Definitely not for you. I don't even know why you're still here. I'm here for the other people that's here to get something out of this. So, Future Impact's new sound set, it's a lot. Of course, there's another 100 presets now, so if you hold down the global, get to the global menu, bam, change this to BSF. Now you're in the FM sounds. Now, these I haven't had a chance to design at all. All right, I just let them do what they are. See, now you're in timeout. So, like, again, I always tell you guys, I'm not really too hot on most people's presets. You know, the Future Impact is really has some really decent presets in there, but it's not nothing that I'm not gonna override in there for the most part. Like, I really like the flute sound so far. I've gone through 40 of the presets, playing through them. Like, some of them like that, I'll have to do some serious alteration to. I really don't even like using a lot of times, balance. I don't really need any dry signal on my synth pedals like that. I really want to hear what the synth is doing more than anything. I know how my bass sounds. And that's another reason, like, I design my sound so whether your dry signal is in there or not, the sound will support itself. When I taking that dry signal out, the sound, I don't know how I feel about that. Yeah, see, I don't even like that. Trying to find some usable stuff here. I like that. I actually like that. It's like a nice little harmonica type sound. Yeah, because I want that real synth sound, and that I mean, this does that. So this is the FM side of the Future Impact. The FM update has been released, 4.5 firmware update. If you haven't checked that out, as soon as I can wrap my mind around FM synth, I will do a video about it. But I wouldn't, as I just stated, I'm not going to just, I just got that update yesterday, haven't had a real chance to dig into it and really learn how to create those nice FM synth patches, bass synth patches in particular, and then I'll work from there, because the Enzo X also has like a FM side of things too, just like the C4 synth also has something similar as well, where you can pretty much cross modulate the an oscillator with another oscillator. So for instance, so say I was taking this one, frequency is doing. So if you want to get to like those more metallic, really super aggressive sounds, that would be your best bet there. You know, X mod in the oscillator section on here. But on the Future Impact, they pretty much have taken the D7 sounds and allowed you to now have X to the Yamaha DX7 style engine. That can be an interesting sound to play around with. Yeah. There we go. Finally getting to the bass synths. Sounds, it just needs some adjustments there. That's all right. Let you know it's possible. That really be the key. So you can actually get like those real metallic type of sounds that would be more difficult to get to with your more traditional subtractive synth, which is, you know, the other side of this is pretty much a subtractive synth, the V8 engine. And then you got the FM engine, which is an additive thing. No, FM, excuse me. It's a lot of different types of synth. You got wavetable, all these other stuff, but yeah, don't really see where I'm using that. They do got the Taco Bell sound on here. Let's see if I can find it. Might have to go a little further back. Because the actual Taco Bell sound came from the DX7. I could probably get that a little closer to a tuba sound. I like that one. And the one before. It's like a lot of weird sounds, but trust and believe, once I wrap my mind around like the editing process for these sounds, a lot of these I'm going to get these joints right, cuz I'm going to come out with another preset pack, of course, for the FM side of the Future Impact V4. But it's like they are a great representation in terms of what the FM engine can do. So, and the tracking has gotten a lot better. Yeah, I actually like that. I can turn that into something. I'm having trouble finding some real bass synth stuff that'd be usable for bass synth. Why they even have any of the regular sound there, I don't know, but somehow they do. Damn. I like that. See what I be saying about I never mind. Just know that this sound should be shifted up an octave. Well, shifted down an octave, and you should be playing up an octave. Pedals typically track better. just a little bit. Had to figure that out. Yeah, like that. See? So that one definitely is in the right register where the pedal would track the best. Doesn't track as fast down there. See what this does by itself. That works. Like that one. Wish they had focused a little bit more on patches like that, like this. Yeah, focus more on them bass synth patches too. At the beginning. So we've essentially went through the majority of the sounds of the new pack there, just skimming through the presets. And what I encourage you to do is listen for the possibilities. Don't always just listen for the preset itself that they're giving you. Like, really think about, all right, is that within this unit or within the tools that I have available to me, can I really shape that sound into something that I really will ultimately want to use, or that will actually be useful to me? A lot of times you get stuff, what's going on? Appreciate that. You'll get these different, pedals, and you get the presets. They not always, they can't. A lot of times you just simply need to set things up for yourself. You know what I'm saying? It would definitely, in the long run, or have somebody that you trust grab their preset packs. It's not just myself. There's other YouTubers that do preset packs and things like that. So I always encourage you, like, if you really like the way that, like, sounds, like when they're demonstrating the things, like synth pedals, like the Future Impact, the sounds that you're hearing when I'm playing them are going to sound the same as when you're playing them. Only thing that's going to be different is what we're playing. But it's a synth. So, that's one of the benefits compared to, things like, saturation-based things. It depends on the input, how hot your input is. Some people may need more gain. Some people may need less to get the same tone out of that type of thing. But with the synth pedals, it's going to be pretty much what you're hearing is what you're going to get. So, again, my favorite sound that I run across, it wasn't actually none of the bass synths. It's actually this flute sound. Oh, it's mad loud. It's still not perfect, but so, that's my favorite sound on there. I'll have to, like I said, go into the software. Really, I started grasping the concept of FM synth last night. So it's going to take me probably about another week to really get creating some sounds that I would like to see on the FM side of the Future Impact. But that is one of my current favorite sounds on there. It sounds really good. And again, that's one of the stock ones. And again, if you want to switch back and forth between the VA and the FM engine, just hold down the on and off switch till you see GLB. Press program, switch it over from BAF to BAA, BSA, So BSA is the VA engine, and BSF is the FM engine. So that is important to note. But now we're back to like it does. They definitely improved the latency with the tracking. Now you got 3 different tracking modes with the Future Impact, the speed, accuracy, and zero. So zero latency. So as soon as you hit that note, it feels immediate too. Definitely makes it more usable. Let's see what we got. It's even faster than the MXL bass synth now. I'll do this. So you can hear it when I'm hitting the string versus there's literally no. So that latency, they actually got that latency way down on that. That's insane. And they also added an auto mode. You know, I guess they heard me, you know, or heard the fans, you know, in general, heard us, you know what I'm saying? Because I wanted to be able to switch automatically back and forth, right? So they added a mode where you can switch automatically between pitch detection and MIDI. So now if I want to use the Future Impact in my bass and my MIDI controller, on that first note, it will detect which one. So oh, that's killing. Same exact sounds too. That's why I love the Future Impact and the Enzo X. I talk about them a lot because of that. Like you just get so many sounds. And you can just same thing. Same thing. You got it all right there. Switch over. So they finally got that auto pitch detection. They get a switch between auto detection, pitch detection, and the MIDI. And you can turn that mode off if it's causing you trouble or if you have any issues or anything. Make sure I hit that like button while y'all hanging out with me. You know, if subscribe if you haven't already. Definitely helps out the channel. And I definitely appreciate all you guys spending your day with me. Part of your day at least, you know, means a lot to me. Thank you. Oh, check out that Patreon. Feel free. You know, if you want to support the channel or any of my preset packs. But yeah, that is one of the main features I'm glad they added, along with the decreased latency of the Future Impact. So now the latent playing with the Future Impact live on bass is insane now. Matter of fact, I wanna what was I doing before? Yeah, I want to try this because I want to see something real quick. I wonder if this will create a loop if I'm sending it out. I'll go back out. Yeah, I can't plug that in, but I want to, okay, I know what I can do. I want to see if they decrease the latency when it's going out to other instruments. Because the Future Impact also has the amazing ability to output MIDI to other devices. So it'll do the pitch detection. Let's see what we got here. Oh yeah. Ah, come on. I'm trying to see how I can patch this in here. Okay. Give me 1 second, folks. Decrease the latency for it. Oh, it's so usable now. Oh, that's insane. Now, you absolutely have to own a Future Impact. Don't even worry about it. Just get it. Let me see how that would behave with GarageBand. Let's see what GarageBand gotta say. Man, open the daggone thing up. See if I can use some different sounds here. Oh, that's crazy. Let's see if we can use some of these synth-based patches. What is that about? That's strange. I don't think that's the Future Impact's fault. I think that's something going on with the. Yeah, something like that, but you get the point. You probably have to shift the MIDI out in the software up an octave or something, because it's probably dropped down an octave for whatever reason. But yeah, so essentially you're getting with the synth pedals, you can't really go wrong these days. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I would say, the Future Impact and the Enzo X have a huge advantage over the MXR bass synth in that they can be updated. So compared to the MXR bass synth, whatever it is what it is, and it doesn't even have half of the features of the Future Impact or the Enzo X. So you can take that how you like it. But it is still a great pedal. That's why I have one on my pedal board. I don't have it there for decoration. I use it, and it does sound good. I have certain sounds that I like on it, and I use it just like another synth. The same way a synth player would have a bunch of different synths. I use these pedals, I view these pedals like that. Each one of them is its own instrument. Like the MXR bass synth is limited, but so was the Moog compared to other synths. So, that limitations aren't always bad. Sometimes they force you to actually be more creative because you have less things to worry about and you're not always trying to get to something. You know what you directly are going to and not for that pedal. So, but yeah, if you just use the MIDI out on the Future Impact, now you got access to analog synths as well, because they also sell a cable, and I have one that's a MIDI cable, but it also does CV and gate. So then you can now it'll track your bass, and you'll be able to play analog synths with your bass too, which is insane. It makes me consider getting like the Behringer, like their version of the Moog, like the little, or like a Poly D or something like that. Or like what is that thing? Model D, their version of a Model D, I guess. But yeah, the Future Impact, sheesh, that update added a whole new synth engine, better tracking, auto switching between MIDI and auto pitch detection. And all you got to do is just press it, give it a second. You don't even have to give it a second, just press it, and about a second note, it'll be ready. And that's either one. So if you're ever in a bind, say you're in a show, right? And you're playing, synth bass, and you happen to break a string or something, you don't have to change sounds. You don't have to do any of that. You can literally just switch between key bass and playing bass all in the same song without ever switching any settings, just like you do on the Enzo X now. That is nice. And you can turn that feature off. Say you don't want it to automatically switch to your bass sound. Because there's times when if I'm using the keyboard and I'm playing my bass and I forget to turn the volume off, it'll then, if I get to moving around, and then it gets to do, it's going to do that. You see? So if that's the case for you and you only using the Future Impact for key bass stuff, then just leave the auto switching off. But if you're like, if you're like me in another way, where you like to be able to have that feature and you'll just deal with it, then that but the feature is available. So, something compared to before. But all right, guys, that's all I'm gonna do for now. I definitely appreciate y'all hanging out with me. Hope you got some tips and tricks this time. Definitely check out the Mercury X. It will accentuate. Oh, what I just said. Accentuate any part of your rig. It's just gonna make it better. But I definitely appreciate you guys hanging out with me. If you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe, check out Patreon if you want to support the channel, buy any preset packs. Also, if you want any of the Mercury X sounds, the Future Impact sounds, the more classic sounds, the VA side is already out, but the FM side isn't out yet. Preamp packs for the Tonex stuff, Enzo X, C4 synth, Zoom pedals, B6, MS60B+, MS70 CDR+, check them all out. All right.